Hello everyone, I'm Uncle Lee. Happy Veterans Day. This is political commentary. Let's get started. Now, the country is celebrating today, because it's Veterans Day, celebrating their sacrifices and their fight for freedom and for the Republic. And as much as we laud ourselves for our commitment to our veterans and military personnel, it's not as good as we like to believe it is it? Here's the problems that we have currently. We have a problem with homelessness in the military. There's a lot of homeless vets. I mean, they went to war for us. They went to war for our citizenry and our beliefs and our Constitution and the Republic. Yet, as soon as they get out, they've got problems fitting back into society. And a lot of times that ends up with a lot of vets being homeless. To me, that's inexcusable. And one of the theories, or one of the thoughts that I've had on this subject, is that there's a lot of charitable services, there's a lot of services in general that we can institute and start to solve this problem. And one of the thoughts that I've had is starting a GoFundMe for Homes for Vets. Now, I live on the coast. There's a decent amount of land around here. Not a lot of services, but there's a lot of land around here that is vacant, could be bought, could have homes put on them. Small homes. You don't have to have huge monstrosities or massive 2,000 square foot homes, but do one bedroom, one bath, places for them to live so they can put their lives together and have a stable environment to make that happen. I think that would be a great thing. I think that would be a solution, or at least part of a solution, to the homelessness problem. And as you can find articles left and right, there is a homeless problem and it needs to be taken care of. 2, resocialization. I've had a number of friends who have been in the military, and they discuss some of the things that they've had to see and deal with in the military, frontline, logistics, all of the bits they've had to do and deal with on foreign fronts. It's messed them up. Before they went in, they were normal human beings, came back, and were a little messed up. The kind of psychological services necessary to get them over the trauma, the stress, the PTSD of being in combat isn't as there as it needs to be. So how do we solve that problem? Well, we need psychological services that are more adept at re-socializing them back into society, getting them over their PTSD, so that way every time a loud noise, loud bang, certain type of situation, certain type of people, clothing, whatever they've been trained to deal with on the front line, no longer triggers them to have an episode that causes them to wig out, go into a fit, or think that they're back on the front line and all hell breaks loose. We need to do that. And that requires better training in school. That requires better training out in the field for psychologists and psychiatrists, so that way they understand a little bit better mental science, essentially, so they could get these people not necessarily fixed, but the kind of help they need to get them re-socialized. I think that would be a great idea. So how do we do that? Incentive programs, charitable services, scholarships, those kinds of things, so that way we can get psychiatrists and psychologists up to par, up to spec, so we can get vets the kind of mental help they need in order to get back into society without having the trauma and the stress and PTSD that came from the battlefield and was brought back home. We can do that. It'll take time, but we can do that. Next thing we need to do, we need to improve the VA. I don't know how much you pay attention to politics, I don't know how much you read up, but there's a lot of problems with the VA. And I've known many vets who've been through the VA who have complained about the VA. And you can find articles pretty much all over the place for just within the last decade talking about how the VA lets vets die. The bureaucratic mentality just shoves them to the side because they just can't handle the influx, or they don't have the resources to handle the influx. And I think that's ridiculous. I mean, we print money all day long to pay off debt that we never intend to pay off. It's like paying a credit card with a credit card. It's not doing us any good. It's just kicking the can down the road. So if we can print money to pay for things that we really don't need, like $10,000 desks for bureaucrats and massive junkets and luncheons for, various politicians and bureaucrats, I think we can use that money a lot better. But one thing they've complained about, too many bureaucrats. How many bureaucrats do you need to run an agency? Shouldn't need that many. How many people do you need to provide services to the veterans? You need a lot more of them than you need bureaucrats. So how about we take the bureaucrats that are there, retrain them, and get them to provide services to the vets? Better use of money, less bureaucrats, more actual doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, nurses that can help them out. That's what you need to do. Here's the other thing, and this will probably piss off a lot of the chicken hawks and the warmongers, but we need to stop the endless wars, folks. We've got hundreds of bases all over the world, and we provide military protection to, so many countries throughout the world. And we subsidize those countries with our military dollars and our taxpayer money. That's ridiculous. We shouldn't be protecting the world from itself. We should let the countries that we protect themselves. The only way we're going to do that is to shrink our military. We have to shrink it. It's too expensive. We don't need the bases. We don't need to protect everybody else from themselves. We spend way too much cash. The Pentagon has more money than anybody in the government, and it needs to be shrunk. It needs to be brought down to size. We are not the world's policemen. We need to stop playing Risk the Real Life edition. We need to basically just say, okay guys, you need to take care of yourselves. We're done. We're tired of it. We need to protect ourselves. We need to rebuild ourselves. We need to do for ourselves what we're doing for you. Which means that we need to retrain the world. So that way they stop depending on us for every bit of protection imaginable. The biggest example of this is Southeast Asia. There are a number of countries that we have treaties with that we provide military protection for. And there are some aggressive nations in that area who want to take them over. Problem is we can't afford it. We're broke. We're bankrupt. We've got 21 plus trillion in debt. We've got 120 plus trillion in unfunded mandates. We've got a pension problem. We've got a social services problem. We've got a VA problem. I mean, we've got a lot of problems, mountain high problems. And if we don't start dealing with those problems and stop protecting the world, but stop teaching the world to be dependent on us for their protection, the sooner we can start handling our own problems. The amount of money that we spend teaching people to be dependent on us needs to come down fast, soon. If we don't, we're going to end up just like the Romans, to where we watch our country, our world, our empire dwindle to nothing, and we end up going through the Dark Ages again, or we get taken over by another country. Doesn't need to happen. We need to rebuild ourselves. We need to stop teaching others to be dependent on us to help them when they can help themselves. We need to bring our troops home. We need to stop going to endless wars. We need to stop spending cash funding everybody else's protection. We need to get our vets re-socialized, get them the mental and physical help that they need in order to come back into society without having the problems that came from being in these endless wars. And we need to work with vets and with charitable services and with the government to get them the help they need so they're not homeless anymore. They're not having PTSD when they get back into society and wigging out. When they go seek health care, they can get it without having to go through the bureaucratic BS that seems to be very pervasive in the VA. You want to celebrate Veterans Day? Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's get these 4 things taken care of. Let's get the homelessness taken care of. Let's get the resocialization taken care of. Let's get the VA taken care of. And let's stop with the endless wars. We do those 4 things, we can actually say that we care about the veterans, and we can celebrate today as it should be celebrated, instead of what we do, which is virtue signal how much we care today and then shuck off the rest of it. I am Uncle Lee. Comment, let me know what you think, because we can work together to fix these problems. We can do it. It takes time, takes effort, takes cash, but most of all, it takes working together. Let's do that. Have a good one, folks. Peace.